Most ancient discoveries are predictable. Pottery, tools, maybe a crumbling scroll with faded ink. But every so often something turns up that makes zero sense. Artifacts so advanced, they shouldn't exist in the timeline we know. Were ancient civilizations way ahead of their time? Did they crack secrets of science and engineering that we somehow lost? From ancient computers to mysterious power sources, these 15 objects don't just raise eyebrows, they throw history into question. Buckle up, because what you're about to see might just change the way you think about the past. Number 15. Archimedes' heat ray. Well, this thing is pretty deadly and dangerous. Archimedes wasn't just a mathematician, he was the OG mad scientist of the ancient world. One of his most legendary and controversial inventions was the heat ray, a device supposedly used to set enemy ships on fire using sunlight and mirrors. Sounds insane, right? But ancient Roman records claim that during the siege of Syracuse, 214 BC, Archimedes' weapon turned Roman warships into floating infernos. The idea? Position bronze shields or polished mirrors to focus sunlight into a death beam, igniting enemy ships from a distance. But did it actually work? Modern experiments have mixed results. Some tests suggest it could be possible under perfect conditions, while others dismiss it as ancient war propaganda. Even if the heat ray was more myth than reality, the fact remains. Archimedes was working with optics and physics at a level far beyond his time. Whether it worked or not, it shows the ancient Greeks were thinking centuries ahead of the curve. Number 14. The Mesoamerican long count calendar. The Maya civilization didn't just keep track of time, they mastered it. Unlike simple day-to-day calendars, the Mesoamerican long count calendar tracked time in massive 394-year cycles. The wildest part? It was stunningly accurate, rivaling even modern astronomical calculations. The Maya didn't just count days, they tracked planetary movements, predicted eclipses, and mapped celestial cycles with eerie precision. Some historians believe they had an advanced understanding of astronomy, maybe even more than they're credited for. But how did they figure it out? Did they spend generations watching the stars? Or was there a lost method or knowledge behind their calculations? Of course, some people, looking at you, 2012 conspiracy theorists, took things too far and thought the world was ending. It didn't. But what remains true is that the Maya's understanding of time and space was incredibly advanced, and we still don't fully grasp how they pulled it off. Number 13. Roman concrete. The Romans didn't just conquer the world, they built it to last. Their secret weapon? Roman concrete. Unlike today's cement, which crumbles in a few decades, Roman structures have survived for over 2,000 years, standing strong despite earthquakes, erosion, and time itself. The Pantheon, aqueducts, and Colosseum, still here. Modern bridges, falling apart after 50 years. So what made Roman concrete so indestructible? Scientists believe the key lies in volcanic ash, which reacts with water to create a self-healing effect. When cracks form, the material repairs itself, something modern engineers are still trying to replicate. Despite years of research, no one has been able to perfectly reverse engineer the formula. How did ancient Romans figure this out without modern chemistry? Was it sheer luck, or did they know something we don't? One thing's certain, their buildings are outlasting ours, and that should tell us something. Number 12. The 500,000-year-old spark plug. In 1961, 3 rock hunters in Olancha, California, split open a supposed geode, and inside, they found something that shouldn't exist: a spark plug. Not a crystal, not a fossil, an actual machine part. Stranger still, geologist estimates at the time suggested the rock encasing it was 500,000 years old. That's a problem. 500,000 years ago, humans weren't even using fire properly, let alone building machines. So where did it come from? Was it proof of an ancient advanced civilization, a bizarre natural formation, or maybe even something alien? Unfortunately, the story gets even murkier. The original geologist was never named, the artifact mysteriously disappeared, and no serious tests were ever conducted. Skeptics believe it was just a modern spark plug covered in fast-forming rock. Believers insist it's evidence of a lost technology. But without the artifact itself, the truth remains as buried as the spark plug once was. Number 11. Da Vinci's tank. Leonardo da Vinci was a Renaissance genius, designing everything from flying machines to underwater breathing devices centuries before their time. But one of his most puzzling inventions? An armored war vehicle that didn't work. Dubbed Leonardo's fighting vehicle, it resembled a giant wooden turtle, complete with a conical shell of armor and cannons positioned all around its exterior. On paper, it looked like a battlefield game-changer. But in practice, it wouldn't have moved. The gears inside were designed in reverse order, rendering the machine useless. Now, here's where things get interesting. Was it an accident, or did Da Vinci do it on purpose? Some historians believe he intentionally sabotaged the design to prevent warlords from using it as a weapon. Others think it was just a miscalculation. Either way, this proto-tank remains one of Da Vinci's most fascinating failures, if it even was a failure at all. Number 10. Damascus steel. If you were a warrior in the Middle Ages, the weapon you really wanted was a Damascus steel sword. Razor sharp, nearly unbreakable, and flexible enough to withstand serious impact, these blades were the stuff of legend. The secret? A forging process that infused the steel with carbon nanotubes, giving it strength and flexibility that modern metallurgy still struggles to match. The problem? We lost the technique. At some point, the knowledge of making Damascus steel just disappeared, and no one has been able to perfectly recreate it. Some say it was due to the depletion of a specific ore source, while others believe the blacksmiths simply took their trade secrets to the grave. Modern attempts to replicate it have gotten close, but nothing quite matches the legendary originals. Whatever the case, Damascus steel remains one of the greatest lost technologies of the ancient world. Proof that sometimes, old-school craftsmanship was ahead of its time. Number 9. Greek fire. Some ancient weapons were terrifying, but Greek fire, that was nightmare fuel, literally. Used by the Byzantine Empire, this mysterious incendiary weapon didn't just burn, it clung to surfaces, spread uncontrollably, and somehow ignited on water. Imagine being in a naval battle, thinking you're safe in the sea, only for the water itself to catch fire. Brutal. The formula was a tightly guarded state secret, and the Byzantines took it to the grave. Historians have theories: petroleum, sulfur, quicklime, or phosphorus, but no one has been able to replicate it. Attempts to recreate Greek fire either fizzle out too fast or fail to burn on water. Whatever the true ingredients were, they gave the Byzantines an almost unfair advantage in warfare. Today, with all our technology, we still don't know how they did it. Maybe it was just chemistry. Maybe it was lost genius. Either way, Greek fire remains one of history's most terrifying unknowns. Number 8. The Antikythera mechanism. In 1901, a group of Greek sponge divers stumbled upon a 2,100-year-old corroded hunk of metal inside an ancient shipwreck near Antikythera. Nothing special, right? Wrong. Once archaeologists cleaned it up, they realized they had just found the world's first analog computer, a device so complex it shouldn't have existed for another 1,400 years. The Antikythera mechanism was a mechanical calculator packed with intricate gears, dials, and inscriptions. It could predict eclipses, planetary movements, and astronomical positions with insane accuracy, centuries before similar technology officially existed. Scientists have compared its design to an 18th century clock, but the Greeks built it in 100 BC. Here's the kicker. Nothing like it exists in ancient records. No blueprints, no earlier models, no successors. Was it a one-time stroke of genius, or is there an entire chapter of history missing? Until more evidence appears, the Antikythera mechanism remains one of history's greatest puzzles. Number 7. Costa Rica's mysterious stone spheres. Hidden deep in the Costa Rican jungle, hundreds of perfectly round stone spheres have baffled archaeologists for nearly a century. Ranging in size from a few inches to over 16 tons, these stones were crafted by the Damascus civilization around 600 AD, and no one knows exactly how or why they made them. The spheres, made from granodiorite, rock harder than granite, would have been extremely difficult to carve with primitive tools. Yet, they are geometrically perfect. Some believe they were symbols of power, placed in front of important buildings. Others suggest they aligned with astronomical events, like a prehistoric observatory. But without written records, the true purpose of these massive stone balls remains a mystery. Adding to the intrigue, many of the spheres have been relocated, damaged, or destroyed over the years. Until more evidence surfaces, Costa Rica's stone spheres stand as one of history's most perfectly shaped enigmas. Number 6. Egyptian blue. The ancient Egyptians weren't just master builders, they were next-level chemists. Thousands of years before modern science, they invented Egyptian blue, the first synthetic pigment known to history. Unlike natural dyes that fade over time, this one has stayed vibrant for over 4,000 years. But here's where things get weird. Scientists still don't fully understand how they made it. Egyptian blue contained a mix of calcium, copper, silica, and alkali, heated to perfection. But replicating their exact formula? Still a challenge. Even stranger, Egyptian blue has some bizarrely advanced properties. It emits infrared radiation when exposed to certain conditions. Did the Egyptians intend that? Probably not. But somehow, they accidentally stumbled onto nanotechnology millennia before we did. So how did they develop such a precise, long-lasting color without modern chemistry? Were they experimenting with materials we don't even know about? Whatever the case, Egyptian blue proves the ancients were way ahead of their time. Number 5. The Lycurgus cup. At first glance, the Lycurgus cup looks like an ordinary Roman glass goblet. But shine a light through it, and the whole thing changes color, shifting from green to a deep glowing red. For centuries, no one understood how or why. Then, modern scientists finally figured it out. The Romans had accidentally created nanotechnology. Embedded within the glass are tiny gold and silver nanoparticles, just 50 nanometers wide. These particles scatter light in a way that creates a color-changing effect. The crazy part? Scientists didn't even begin experimenting with nanotechnology until the 20th century. Somehow, over 1,600 years ago, Roman artisans were working with materials at the microscopic level, without even realizing it. The technique was never written down, never mass-produced, and to this day, no one has been able to replicate it perfectly. So, what else did ancient civilizations know that we've completely forgotten? The Lycurgus cup is proof that history still holds plenty of surprises. All right, now let's move to number 4. Göbekli Tepe. Archaeologists are used to rewriting history, but Göbekli Tepe takes that to a whole new level. In the 1990s, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt uncovered a massive stone temple in southeastern Turkey, dated to over 11,000 years ago. That's 7,000 years before the pyramids, long before humans were supposed to be building anything this sophisticated. The site consists of gigantic stone pillars, some towering 20 feet tall and weighing up to 20 tons, arranged in circular formations. Carvings on the stones depict animals, humanoid figures, and strange symbols, fueling speculation about its purpose. Some experts believe it was a religious gathering site, meaning ancient people might have been worshipping before they even figured out farming. Others argue it could have been an early city or even a meeting hub for nomadic tribes. But the biggest question? How did hunter-gatherers with no metal tools, no wheels, and no cities pull this off? Number 3. The Baghdad Battery. In the 1930s, archaeologists in Iraq dug up what looked like an ordinary clay jar until they took a closer look. Inside was a copper cylinder with an iron rod, all sealed up with asphalt. No big deal, right? But then, in 1940, Wilhelm König, director of the National Museum of Iraq, suggested something wild. This wasn't just a jar, it was an ancient battery. He theorized that when filled with an acidic liquid, like vinegar or lemon juice, it could generate electricity. Modern tests confirmed it could produce a weak charge, though not very efficiently. But here's the kicker. There's zero historical evidence of ancient Mesopotamians using electricity. No wires, no lamps, no electroplating factories. So was it really a battery or just a well-sealed storage jar? If König was right, ancient civilizations may have understood electricity 1,800 years before we thought. Until more evidence surfaces, this battery remains an electrifying mystery. Pun fully intended. Number 2. The 500-million-year-old hammer. In 1936, a couple in London, Texas, not England, went for a walk and stumbled upon something bizarre. A rock with a wooden handle sticking out. When they cracked it open, things got even weirder. Inside was an iron hammer, seemingly encased in stone for millions of years. Some claims say 500 million years, which is impossible. That's long before humans, long before dinosaurs. Heck, even before complex life really got going. Stranger still, the hammer's head was 96% pure iron. Far purer than what we'd expect from natural formation. Conspiracy theorists jumped on it, calling it proof of an advanced pre-human civilization. Skeptics, however, argue it's just an odd case of fossilization, where minerals hardened around a relatively recent hammer. So, is this an artifact from a lost civilization, or just a weird geological fluke? Without more testing, this hammer remains one of history's strangest out-of-place objects. Number 1. The ancient plains of Quimbaya. The Quimbaya civilization of Colombia left behind plenty of gold artifacts, but a few of them have experts scratching their heads. These tiny gold figurines, estimated to be over 1,000 years old, look exactly like modern airplanes. We're talking stabilizing tails, wings, and even what appears to be landing gear. Mainstream archaeologists insist they're just artistic interpretations of birds or insects, but aerodynamics experts have a different take. Their design is too precise and too functional to be a coincidence. To put the theory to the test, engineers built scaled-up replicas of the artifacts and, guess what? They actually flew. Now, does that mean the Quimbaya had knowledge of aviation? Not necessarily, but it does raise some serious questions about their understanding of aerodynamics. Did they inherit lost knowledge? Did they just happen to create perfect flight-ready shapes by accident? Either way, these little golden planes have left modern researchers completely baffled. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.